Hello there my little miracles. Today is the 6th day of Vlogmas and today I am going to tackle the topic of dedicating to deity, and this video goes out to a very special client. They know who they are. These are just a few thoughts that I have had on the topic of late, and after being asked some questions about the nature of dedication in my own practice, it kind of brought me to a little bit of clarity about some of the thoughts and feelings that I have about the process of dedication. It's not going to be a really in-depth video where I hit every point, but hopefully some of these thoughts will be helpful to those of you out there who are considering dedicating, are confused about the concept of dedication to a deity, are wondering whether or not the deity you're working with might be your matron or patron. So many big questions, so many big metaphysical queries and quandaries that we have, right? Dedication is a really interesting topic. I definitely could take this exploration down so many different avenues. Like I said, I'm not going to, because I want Vlogmas to be something that I continue on with and don't get too bogged down in, so I'm just going to give you some short and sweet thoughts. But before I do, can I just say I really feel my hand is so maleficent today. Like, you know, from the actual original Sleeping Beauty movie, like I loved that ring that she had, and I just feel like with these goth stiletto falsies that I've got on, I just feel like, yes, I'm feeling so fucking maleficent today. In some corners of paganism, there is this belief that until you dedicate to a deity, nothing is really kind of gonna happen for you in terms of big feelings that you are connected to that deity, that you and that deity are communing with each other, that there is actually a relationship going on. The idea is that you dedicate, and then the dedication is what kind of opens the door to these deeper layers of experience and these feelings that you are actually really communing with deity, with this particular deity, and that you're having a connection with them. For me, I feel like that is a little bit like waiting for marriage before you have sex, in a way. It wouldn't work for me. It works in some quarters and I think that's wonderful, but I like to dive deep and know whether or not I want to get committed before anything remotely like a dedication takes place, you know, or before I even begin to talk about my relationship with a deity or write about my relationship with a deity to any huge extent. I kind of feel like we need to get to know each other a little bit. I feel like a dedication can therefore be seen as a way of making a firm commitment to a deity that you've been hanging out with and having experiences with for quite a while. Now, for some, a dedication is like a marriage. It's a lifelong commitment, and so it's a very serious thing. But I personally don't see why it always needs to be seen in that exact context. I think we can take the concept of dedication and I think we can make it what we want it to be, what we need it to be for our particular situation. So I like to think that we can dedicate much like a hand fasting if we want to. Maybe you might not choose to see that as a dedication necessarily, but it's certainly some form of a show of commitment, right? And I feel like that is something that can happen for a year or a year and a day, while you agree to work more closely with that specific deity, you agree to get on board with a connection which is more exclusive maybe, or is just deeper in its nature. I don't feel like dedication just has to mean you are my matron or patron for life, this is it, this is what I'm, you know, going to be doing from now until death do us part. I feel like dedication can definitely be a lot more flexible than that, and I think we need to find where our own needs are and then shape the concept of dedication according to those needs. I didn't dedicate to my matron for a really long time, months and months and months, and I feel like that was very much the right choice for me. I've said on the channel before that I kind of feel as though when I first started connecting with Hel and working with her energies and learning more about her mythos, I felt very much as though I was in a long distance relationship. I felt like I was hanging out with a really passionate, really interesting person that I really wanted to get to know on that deeper level, and I felt like when the focus was on me, it was really awesome and intense and we were having these great times together, but then when she would go off back to her realm, it was like difficult to get her on the phone, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of that kind of stopping and starting energy, but there was also very much like that new relationship energy in a way. Like, it was exciting, but it was hard for me to pin down what she was going to be, and I was also having a lot of questions within myself about pantheism, panentheism, soft polytheism, that kind of thing, and I was going through the motions of that as well at the same time. So I didn't dedicate for a really long time. when I did dedicate, I didn't dedicate for her. And I think that's another thing that is very kind of commonly understood about dedication in paganism when it comes to deity. This idea that we dedicate for the deity. We dedicate as a show of our honour and commitment and loyalty to that deity. I didn't feel at all like I dedicated for Hel. The dedication itself was an honouring of her. It was a celebration of her energy. It was very reverent. And that was what I felt the dedication should be. That was what I felt it should be set up to look like and feel like. But I didn't dedicate for her. I didn't feel in any sense that she was waiting around for me to dedicate, that she expected me to dedicate, or anything of that nature. I dedicated for me. It was my way of saying that I was going to commit, that I was going to really let myself go there with this archetype specifically, and I was going to let myself learn whatever I could learn about this archetype specifically. It was almost my way of forcing myself to go to those deeper levels with Hel. I was a little bit afraid of the idea of having a matron. It was never something that I envisioned for myself and my path. It was never something that I felt like I could have, but at a certain point there did come a time where I very much felt like it was my moment to connect with the divine feminine in the guise of goddess, and it was time for me to look at goddess spirituality, and it was time for me to connect with the goddess within myself. So I did come to that point, but I was very kind of wary of the fact that this was never really what was in the brochure for me, and I never imagined myself having a matron, so I was a little afraid, I was a little hesitant, and I feel like the dedication was me just pushing myself into the pool, you know, just giving myself that little gentle, encouraging kick that I probably needed to get myself out of my comfort zone and get myself very much into working with her regularly. I felt like the dedication was a symbol of my readiness to actually work with the dark goddess archetype overall. So it was for me to confirm that yes, this is what I think is best for me, and yes, I'm going to push through my trepidation, and I'm really going to let myself go there and see what I can see what I can discover. Obviously, I'm really non-traditional, and I'm really about people finding their own way, carving their own path, doing what feels right for them as individuals. So I'm never going to sit here and be really prescriptive and dogmatic and tell you that there is one way to dedicate, that there is a certain amount of time that you should wait before dedicating, or that dedication means one thing or another thing. Like I said, I really like the idea of opening up the concept of dedication so that we can customize it so that it works for us and for our individual needs. I would never want to dedicate to a specific deity for the rest of my born days. Oh, I think that's one of my birthday presents. It's a package for my man badger, and I don't know what's in it, but I know that he's ordered some stuff for my birthday, so I better not peek in there. I would never want to dedicate to a specific deity for the rest of my born days at any particular point, but that's what suits my personality, you know, like I do not want to get married ever. I've never really wanted to get married. I don't like that idea, it's not for me, so it would be very weird, I think, for me to see a dedication to a deity as being a show of commitment for life in a very literal sense. It just doesn't make sense for me, because marriage doesn't make sense to me, and I think dedication in that form is very much like that lifelong commitment that is outlined in the framework of marriage. I would also never dedicate to a deity whilst I still felt that they were distant. Like I said at the beginning, there are some ideas in some factions of paganism that surround the idea that dedication is what opens the portal for those deeper and more meaningful experiences to happen with a deity. Now for me, I wouldn't be happy with it that way round. I need meaningful experiences to already have occurred before I would even remotely consider dedicating to a deity, because for me that is, like I said, like dating and getting serious and then cohabiting and then all the rest of it. I would not wait for marriage to have sex. I would not wait for marriage to cohabitate. I would need to know that these things felt good and felt right before I moved on to the next level, and that's exactly how I am with deity. I think if dedication is going to mean anything to me at all as a concept, then I need to already be pretty sure that me and a particular deity are really going somewhere good, we're really going somewhere tasty, I'm feeling it, I really want to open up a portal for more. So that's how it goes for me. I really think everybody needs to adopt their own way of looking at dedication, and I think it's really important that we don't go too far down anybody else's avenue of deciding what dedication is or is not. It is up to us to define what it means for us to dedicate to a particular deity, and you might find in your case that it feels safer and it feels almost more meaningful in a way if you only choose to dedicate for a certain amount of time and then see how it goes after that, or if you decide upon a concept that is like dedication but it's not really dedication, it's more of a show of commitment, it's more of a symbol of you getting more serious with a particular deity and being willing to do that deeper one-on-one work, or being willing to give regular offerings, whatever it is. So I kind of feel like there are different ways to explore the theme of dedication, and we can open this up. I would love to know in the comments if you have dedicated to a matron or patron, if you've dedicated to a number of matrons or patrons, if you dedicated and then had to backpedal because it didn't feel right anymore. What do you think about the concept of dedication now? Do you think it would be cool if we had more words to describe different types of dedication? I like to see the concept of a relationship with a deity a lot like I see the concept of a relationship with a friend or a partner, and I like the fact that we are opening up all kinds of different conversations now about what partnerships can be, what relationships can be. I haven't always had straightforward, very mainstream, very clearly understood relationships with people in my life. I've had situationships with people, I've had open relationships. I consider myself to be much more polyamorous than I am monogamous. I've been in polyamorous relationships. I enjoy the blurred line between friendship and something else. I've been there, I've been down a few different roads, you know, so I'm really interested in the nature of relationships and how we have too few words and too few phrases to explain what's going on with people and in situations. And I feel like for me, that's kind of what's happened a lot with the discussion about dedication and matrons and patrons in paganism. I feel like there needs to be a lot more words. I feel like there are a lot more possibilities. I feel like there are a lot more things happening. And sometimes I think when we get really close with a deity and we really begin to learn from them, and we feel as though there is that exchange and it is getting more serious, I feel like there's almost this pressure or this feeling of like, oh, do I need to work out, you know, if I need to dedicate, and what does that mean, and can I really live up to it? And I just feel like that's another way, in a similar way to how people get serious in romantic relationships and then start to panic about marriage or question their commitment if they don't want marriage. I just feel like we need to open this shit up. We need to open it the fuck up, people, and realise that there's so many more ways to interact with disembodied intelligences, and it's okay for us to have our own ways, and it's okay for us not to conform. So that's my thoughts on dedication. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. This has been Vlogmas Day 6. I hope you guys aren't getting too stressed with the Yuletide and Christmastide situations that are going on in your lives, and if you are, then take a load off, have a cup of tea, relax. It's all going to be okay on the day. Much love, blessed be.